you brought up UI UX, and then you said you do offer a training around UI UX too. So how do you
Yeah,
see that working in the Scrum or Agile teams?
yeah. So, you know, it's not all that different than
Hmm.
QA was about 5 to 10 years ago. We used to have development teams and QA teams, and now
Right,
everybody has accepted that it's just there's no reason you would put those on separate teams. You would always put
right.
that together into one team. UX is the same way. I think that 5, 10 years from now, we'll be saying, "Oh yeah, of course UX belongs on your Scrum team. Like that's just part of your
Yeah,
cross-functional team. You definitely
right.
need those skill sets."
Yeah.
And so that's the way I see it. Some people then question, well, how do you actually do that? Like, there's some UX things, like if you're going to do like a diary where people record journal entries over months, how they use a product or something like that.
Right.
How would you do that in a sprint? Your sprint's only 2 weeks, and it's like, well, that's refinement, and you just need to, plan that ahead of time or
Hmm.
whatever work it's influencing, and know that that work needs to be done so that you can actually do the development work on that thing. And there might be
Yeah.
cases where you can actually do the UX work like beforehand or during a sprint, or you don't not
Yeah.
beforehand, but just do it during. There was a team I was a part of, and we were building a product for a large retail organization, something
Hmm.
probably everybody knows.
Hmm.
And when we were building this application for them, we would go to, and we did 2 week sprints, and we'd go to day 8 of every sprint,
Hmm.
and we would go to a store and we'd say, hey, here's some new functionality we added over the last 8 days. Here's a use
Yeah.
case. Can you walk through this? And we would record their screen so the rest of the team could
Hmm.
see it. And we'd send 2 people. Usually it was the UX person and one other person from the development team. And the other
Hmm.
person would usually record, and the UX person would facilitate.
Yeah.
And that's how we started. But then we traded roles. And then before long, it didn't have to be the UX person. And so day
Right.
8 of every sprint, we're showing stuff that wasn't done, wasn't fully tested,
Right.
but it was pretty close. And we were getting direct feedback on it. And then we would go to these executive stakeholders in a sprint review, and
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Oh, you totally got to move this button here or these fields here from this screen."
Yeah.
It's like, no, actually, we just talked with the users. Here's the recording if you want to look at it, but this is how they're
Yeah.
actually using it, and this is what their workflow is. So here's why we're doing it. And they'd be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I didn't know that," and so we built it, for the user. So then the adoption, the creation afterwards of people accepting this application was just really high because they helped build it, right? It was every sprint, maybe even multiple times a sprint, they were giving us feedback and we were applying it right from users, not just from an executive team. So I see UX being fully integrated into a Scrum team, and it's just
Yeah.
something you're doing all the time.
Yeah. No, no, that's great. That's good to hear because, once you have those practices up front, I think it really helps teams to understand who their end users are and how they're going to be delighting them, and also set out those experiments to like test when they build a product, what is the output or what is the outcome of the product that they build. So,
Right.
no, that's great to hear. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. We will sure to come back with more exciting videos on Agile topics.